Okay, well, look here. Look what came in the mail today. It says, made in the US of A. Fragile, please do not handle. And it weighs about 107 pounds. And let's see if the old video camera's getting it. Alright, it's got the sticker on there, so that's good. Anyway, this is a Colorado Systems cylinder Alpine stove. It's heavy duty wood burning stove. This is the American made one. The Camp Chef are the Chinese versions. And looks like they gave me the nested stovepipe, which I wanted the straight stovepipe. But, oh well. It's built to last, heavy duty gauge steel construction, provides increased durability and heat retention, no warping, cooktop, compact, everything fits in the stove, and it gives more radiant heat. So, looks like I got the water jacket, but looks to me like they're sending me the nesting pipe. Anyway, let's go ahead and open it up and see what we got out of the deal. There it is there. Okay. The door. And I'll use that for my knee pad. Thank you for watching that. It's got a rubber band on it. That's keeping that part of it together. And this one has the double holes in it. And these are this design. The Camp Chefs just have the single holes, I think. And of course this has got that on there, and we'll open that up a little bit. It's actually got some more padding. And let's see what we got here. The water closet. Stainless steel water closet tank. Put that off to the side. And there's the nesting pipe. I don't think that's the nesting pipe. I think that's actually the straight pipe. Because they're not assembled. Where the rest of them were nested, they were assembled from what I've seen. So let's go ahead and open this up a little bit more. And there's the shelf. The grate and the spark arrestor. And let's have a look inside there. I'm going to go ahead and put this thing up on the edge just to have a look at it. I can tell you that this little hook here is not of the quite degree of the other hook. That's American made. I'm really surprised at the quality of the workmanship there. Right. Anyway, so do have a nice big hinge on there. This one does have the nice round stove. Let's go ahead and put it up on the edge here. Let's see how heavy it is here. Okay, it's not all that heavy. I think it's 76, 77 pounds empty, but it's not all that heavy. I'll easily be able to lift that up and tow it around camp to where I need to get it there. This is the biggest Alpine stove that they make. And just sitting there looking at the looks like it's got a pretty good ding on the edge of it here. For $700, you wouldn't think that I'd be getting the ding. Anyway, I'm not too hard to please. As long as it's got some power going to it, I'm good to go with that. Okay, so let's see what we got here. We'll put it up on the edge. And there's your stove pipes. And they always say don't, when you're putting this together, don't tighten these up too tight. And all this is just 1/2 inch threaded rod. The end of it's just got a little bevel on it. All you're going to do with that is just slide it in, and then I say back it off a little bit so it doesn't get hot. I replaced a dip tube in a water heater the other day, and I mean to tell you what, that heat has made that seize up in there, and it took me and my brother with a 20-inch monkey pipe tool to get that thing done to come loose. So, you know, none of this stuff where you don't want it really hard. And like that. Okay, so there it is there. Let's go ahead and raise it up and get it standing on its little feet. Okay, so there it is in its home position. And like I said, I think this is all 5-inch pipe that is just not been assembled. And so good. I'm glad they sent me that stuff. Anyway, I need to assemble them and get them together. And secret of that is to bend it down and then snap it together. So I've been watching YouTube videos on how to put all that stuff together and get that together. So let's go ahead and put that together, and I'm hunting the damper. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. We'll find out and get back to you. Okay, let's go ahead and put the shelf on it. Maybe the damper is in the water closet. That over here on this side. Okay. Okay, there's your water closet. Basically just sits over the top of that. They say don't let that run empty because it will cause the moisture to get seized up or dried out and then leak. See what we got in here. There's the manual. There's the stovepipe kit. And here is the washer and nut for the stove. Okay. Okay, I'm going to put my damper in about 6 inches, that's 6 to 8 inches from the crimped end, which I'm going to put it down here. That's a little bit low for me. At that point, I think I just seem to have it right up here. And so I want 6 inches, 8 inches from that end. And that maybe it won't be quite so hot to reach up there and grab that. Of course, I may be surprised. Closet's in. They say after the first burn, you want to get it good and hot, so I'll probably take this off of there and use it only for when I do water. Keep that on there. So I don't know how useful this would be, but we'll keep it to use. Keep it. It's kind of cool looking. Much better. Yeah, that fits together pretty easy. Just roll them back flat or roll them back round. Give her a flattening. Give her another flattening. Together and roll them out round. Saw a lady on YouTube. I thought she's got the right idea. Okay, we're going to move the stove out for the first burn in. Don't need the water closet just yet. We're going to take the damper off just to lighten the load just a hair, so nothing just falls on us. And there's our grate and our stove. Might as well take this off just to lighten the load by a pound or so. And we're ready to haul this thing out into the driveway. Yeah, I think I'll just burn the couple sections of pipe that will probably be inside the tent. Burn that elbow not too long. Well, there we go there. And it's only about, maybe 8 feet tall. So there we go there. Let's see if she'll draw at that point. Maybe I need to go a little taller. Open our draft. And that draft. And slide the grate back in there. Carpenter. See, there's all kinds of cool wood that will be burning up. We'll just start off with the Lincoln log set up. Go. Ain't no sense in messing around with it, is there? ready to snap, crackle, and pop. We'll put that one thing down on there so we can get her to start going through the chimney. Okay. Here we are, we got her going full kilt. Set up for that. Going up on top of the house there. Top's getting warm. The pipe's getting warm enough where you don't want to touch it. Let's see where we're at here. Nice little burn inside there. Making a nice little bit of racket. All the stove and everything's going to good. Looks here, looks really good. Leave it open there for a while and let her cook. Now you can start seeing a little bit of the paint curing going on. While it's curing the paint, it's also evaporating some of the noxious smells and chemicals that are coming up on the stove. It's just now starting to get warm enough towards cooking that up. I'm thinking, they said an hour, but I'm going to let it burn for 2 or 3 hours, get it good and toasty, and get her good and hot, cure that stuff in. So there we go. Okay, let's have it running for about 25 minutes or so. And my stovepipe is now starting to change colors. And let me just pick the camera up here and walk around with it a little bit. There it is there. You can see it more on the downhill side of it. There it is on the hot side of it. And it's starting to get a little cooked up. You can smell some of the vapors coming off of the stove and going there. I did have trouble getting that shelf to fit on there after it was warmed up. Just getting it to fit in there. It has to act like the metal had expanded or contracted just a little bit. The shelf was cold and the stove was warm. So note to self is to put the shelf on there before you fire up the stove and get that done. And there it is there. It's got some walnut in there and a little bit of cedar. I'm a woodworker, so I've always got something that I need to burn up. And I'm going to let it cook good and hot here before I put anything on the stove. I think some people tried cooking right off the bat before the paint was cured, so I'm going to just let it get good and hot. And I'll burn a couple loads of wood in it for a couple hours at least. Get her as good and hot as I can get it. And, well, I mean normally hot. And there's some of the old walnut. I resaw lumber from logs, and there's a bunch of cedar and some maple in there and some spalted something, I'm not sure what that is on top. And anyway, so I enjoy doing that, and while I'm doing that I create lots of good firewood like that for cleaning stuff off. So we've got a dumpster full of that stuff in the back, so that'll make it handy for some wood fires, and it'll give me the gumption to get out and cut some more logs down and turn it into some wood. The smell from around the stove is you can smell a little bit if you get up right next to it. I've got a pretty good breeze today. Old Glory's over there blowing in the wind, and sometimes it's all the way to the side and sometimes it's not, so we'll see what it is. But I do have a little bit of a breeze today, and so we're going to burn off this newness off this stove, and I'll build a couple of boxes, one box for the pipes and one box for the stove,
and that way I can divide the weight up by half. So I'm 62, so I'm starting to think a little bit more reducing weight kind of thing. So, and that old shelf there, this is where the UPS had bumped the stove in the box. That the box was crushed in right there, so I'm sure it was them that had done that. They probably dropped it from some height, and so I was kind of wondering if my little bracket right there on the bottom was damaged, but everything looks intact. I'm not going to worry about it. If I get real concerned about it, I'll heat it up and bend it back straight. But a little bit of paint off of it there. So anyway, and I'm back here 12 inches. They say to keep 24 inches from a burnable surface, and you know I can still feel heat. And I'm probably 20 inches. There's probably 24 inches there, and so I can still feel nice and heat coming off of that. So that's nice. And my flue pipe is just about getting cured up. A couple little spots on it, and I'll probably put the other one on top of it and burn them up as well, as well as the elbows on my setup. I'll have this come off, and then there'll be an elbow, and it'll come out here about 4 feet, and then go up through a sidewall on a side flap on a Marquee, canvas Marquee. So this is a stove for the Marquee, and yeah, so it's doing pretty good. I enjoy doing this stuff, and I've waited a long time to buy the wood stove because they're a lot of money. I've got about $1,000 invested in the stove, the flap, and the accessories that are going. And I'm going to get a pan to put on the bottom of it so that when it sits in the tent with the floor in it, it'll, you know, the legs won't poke through it or cause the damage. So, and then I've got an asbestos, or not asbestos, but a fiberglass blanket that's impregnated with enamel, I think is what it is, and it'll go 1,000 degrees. So that's a Harbor Freight deal. It costs about $59. I'm not sure what it was, but and then the little stove, and there's the water jacket and a couple elbows. So I'll put a fan on it, stovetop fan here when I get to that point. But we'll let her rip, tater chip, and cure it up, and that's good to go so far. Well, it's been cooking for an hour and a half or so, 2 hours, and I've burnt one armload of wood in there, and it's still got coals in it, and it's still burning pretty good. But stovepipe is cooked up. I just shut it down just to see what it would do for about 10-15 minutes, just to set the stuff off. And got a little bit warmer right here at the edge of the stove for a little bit. Anyway, I was wanting for it to burn out, so I didn't keep that going very long. But it was pushing the heat out a little bit more. And so there we go. There's the not camp, but the Alpine, Colorado Alpine cylinder stove. And there she goes there. Of course, it gets to ripping and roaring if you open the door up. And then I've got crosswind coming across here, which is, it doesn't really go too much outside the stove, but right there it is because it spins the draw on it faster. My food pipe's not really high enough to get a real good draw out of it. But when I shut that damper down, that little smoke got thick and coming out there, so it was just cool smoke, so it wasn't burning as efficiently as it needed to. But anyway, I think it's going to be fine. Puts out a nice heat, and it's nice and quiet, and I'll believe it'll be good and safe. All right, just got back from O'Reilly's and Lowe's and picked up a oil drip pan for auto mechanic to slide underneath the car to collect the dirt and or the grease. And oil is about $14 or so, 15 with something with tax. So that fits nicely there. Then I stopped at Lowe's and got a bag. And all I'm wanting it to do is to contain the black suit in my gear. So basically I'll stick that in there to keep my gear from getting all black from the, keep it inside the bag, and it has a drawstring in it. So that'll fit in there. And then I got another one to put my pipe in. This has a drawstring to pull it up tight around it. So hopefully that will work for that. So there's the drawstring. So see how all that works out for us. Anyway, there's that. I still got to empty some ashes out of it from the burn the other day. Then I bought 3 pieces of conduit, and I'm going to drill a hole. Drill a hole about right here where my hand's at. Run a bolt in there, and that'll make a tripod that will sit like this. And then I can spread it out and adjust the height. And that'll help it from, it'll support the pipe up here in the middle. And that's kind of what my idea is. So we'll see how that goes. Bags from Lowe's in their barbecue grill selection. A kettle cooker, vertical smoker cover. 27 inches in diameter, 3 foot long, and they're pretty good for this Alpine stove. That just has the stove in it by itself. I'm trying to get my weight down to as minimum as I have, so I'm basically dividing the weight up. This is all the smokestacks, the grates, the damper, elbows, and the water tank, and the welding blanket, and then it also has the tray from O'Reilly's. It's just a drip pan tray, and the stove will sit on that. So I'm going to wrap this up and see if I can get it inside the bag. This is a 6x8 welder's blanket. It's the acrylic embedded. It's the higher end one from Harbor Freight. With that all wrapped up around there, now I'm going to stick that inside the bag and get it covered up. I just basically put it all in the center and then folded the 2 long ends over and then the 2 sides. Okay, there's the 2 bags. That's everything in the kit. I do have 3 pieces of conduit that I'm going to drill a hole in, run a bolt through them for a stovepipe tripod. So we'll get that done. That's it. That's everything. Okay. I took these pieces of all rod, measured down 1 foot from the end of this, put a green mark on there, put that in my drill press. That's when a V-block's really handy. Then just drilled it out. It makes centering it just so easy. So that's just a hair oversized the bolt that I'm using. Then I reamed it with this bit on here, and those are just some Harbor Freight cheapies, but they do a great job, especially when you're working on metal to deburr them, so them holes will all go in together just fine. So let's run the bolt through there with the washers and see what we get. All right, this is the stove support that will come out of the tent, come up off the stove, and it'll come out here, set it about right in here, and then go out the flap. And that'll need to be adjusted depending on that, but it'll raise up, you know, with adjustment on the tripod. But that ought to be enough to take the weight of that off, and then I'll take a piece of wire and wrap it around there so that it'll secure it somewhere or another. And that's all 1/2 inch metal conduit that cost me $5 a piece, so it's $15, and I had the bolts in here. These are just threaded dowel bolts that has with some of my little metal jigs, so I went ahead and used them just because I can get an easy turn on them and tighten them up if I need to. and we'll see how that works out. I think it'll work, but we'll find out. And basically I'll tap that in the ground, you know, with a hammer, and tap that in the ground so it anchors. And this will probably get a little bit bent right up in here, so we'll just see. Might have to go with a little heavier conduit.